Once you've decided to get a government job, there's a few questions you have to ask yourself. First is the location. Where are you at, or where are you willing to work? Because if you live in Iowa, let's say you live in Newton, Iowa, there's no federal jobs there. There's literally zero within a 25-mile radius of Newton, Iowa, right? So unless you plan on competing for those remote work positions, there's nothing for you. Now, if you do plan on competing for remote work, know that you will be competing against thousands because everybody wants that. Everybody wants the freedom of being able to work wherever they want. So it's not going to be as easy as if you're applying for a job in your nearby area. But let's say you live in Chicago. If you live in Chicago, there's over 1,000 federal government jobs that are open today. So where you live or where you're willing to move will be a huge part of your job searching strategy. The next thing is the salary. How much salary is enough for you? Is it $60,000? Is it $70,000? Is it $80,000? That number is important because it will translate into the GS grade that you will be targeting, right? So is it GS7? Is it GS9? And depending on your location, the pay will fluctuate because there's over 50 pay charts across the country when it comes to federal government jobs. Now, I would recommend having a range. So even if GS9 is your target, I would have a range between GS7 and GS11 in order to expand the potential opportunities that you could get from one of these government jobs. Also realize that you can negotiate the step level. So if you're targeting a GS9, but you're applying to GS7, there's a possibility that you can negotiate your step level to make similar. So a GS7 step 5, for instance, could be the same as a GS9 step 1. So that's always an option out there. It depends on how quickly you actually need to get this job. If you currently do not have a job, it might be a little bit more difficult to find which GS grade is right for you. You really have to take a look at your experience, look at the job series handbook to see how positions are classified, and make an educated guess on what grade you would fit in. Talk to someone that works in the federal government that has similar experiences as you do. And that takes us to the job series. So in the federal government, we have hundreds of jobs out here. And what you need to do is look at your skills and abilities and your experience, look at what you have to offer, and then match those up with the jobs that are currently available in the government. So there's hundreds of them, right? Pretty much anything that you can imagine that they have in the private sector, they have the equivalent in the government. You just have to look through there. It surprises me how many people refuse to open up the job series handbook when a lot of the answers are out there. The handbook exists to help human resource professionals create that job. The create that job announcement is kind of like the blueprint to the job. So if you want a better understanding on what goes into that type of job, look into the handbook. And this whole thing about picking your job series, you can always switch later down the line. Just because you pick 0300, it doesn't mean that in 5 or 6 years you can't switch over to 0200 or 0500. Really, if you look at it, the whole government job process, it's almost like a choose your own adventure book. You've seen those books, right? Where it says make a choice and then flip to page 91, and then you flip to page 91 and it's a whole different direction. What you pick, your agency and your job, you're turning the pages and it's going to send you down a different path, a different trajectory. But you can always switch, double back, come back around, do it again, do it differently. So there's a lot of options out there for you. Problem a lot of people have is they don't want to open up the handbook. Maybe it has too many pages, there's too many words in it. I don't know what it is. But when they look through there, if they do, then they discount their experience. Like I would like to be a 0341 program manager, but then when I look through there, I don't know if I'm qualified. So they have that problem too, that imposter syndrome where they don't think that they can actually fit it, even though their experience actually matches up. It's the most frustrating thing. Another misconception is that you need to be college educated to get a white collar job in the government. And that's not true. College education will help you get your foot in the door, so to speak. So if you major in something like business, or it doesn't matter what your major is, you pick a major, and if the job is relevant to that major, then you can get in, if you have a bachelor degree, as a GS7, right? Or if you have a master's degree, you can get in as a GS9. But one of the common questions I'm asked is, I have a master's degree and 10 years of experience. Does that mean I can only get a GS9? No, absolutely not. On education alone, you can only get a GS9, but sprinkle in a few years of experience, and we're talking about GS11 or GS12. It's just depending on your experience and how it's written on your federal resume. For example, I was talking to somebody who had a master's in education, just graduated 7 months ago, master's in education. And they were wondering, so, am I only qualified for a GS-9? They had 3 or 4 years experience. I said, you're qualified for a GS-11 or GS-12, and it could be a ladder, right? So you could do a GS-11 to 13. Take that position, 12 months later, you're a 12. 12 months later, you're a GS-13. Look for opportunities like that where you can grow. The other thing is you have to understand what hiring paths you're qualified for. The default one is open to the public, and that means pretty much any U.S. citizen can apply. The person who just graduated a few months ago, they can apply. Your neighbor, they can apply. Your neighbor's cousin, they can apply. But there are certain hiring paths that limit the competition, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to get in. Let's say you're a veteran, right? There's a hiring path for that. There's a hiring path if you're disabled. There's a hiring path if you're a spouse of a veteran, or if you're in the National Guard. There's a hiring path if you're a Native American. If you worked in the Peace Corps. There are so many hiring paths out there. You need to have a good understanding on what you qualify for so you can use that path to get into the government easier. Once you're in, then you can start using competitive service preference, and that will make it easier to move around in the government. Once you have a firm understanding on those things, it's time to create your federal job search. You have to save it. So you go on USA Jobs, you click all the parameters that apply to your situation, and then save the search, and then you'll be able to select when you want to be notified. You can be notified every single day, every week, bi-monthly, or monthly. And that's simply just an email, a reminder of, hey, these are new jobs that fit your criteria. So do you want to apply for them? Some people find that helpful. For me, when I was in my job searching phase, I was on USA Jobs every single day. I was applying multiple times a day. So I didn't need a reminder. Some people find the reminder helpful. You'll have to be the judge of that. Okay, so once all of that's done, you need to create a strong federal resume. You need to have a strong federal resume. Once you have that, you can start applying. And you should be applying frequently. You should be applying daily if you can. If you want an example on how to apply to one of these job announcements, then I want you to watch this video next. If you would like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.